All right, guys. Hello, welcome, Giants. Back. This is our how many episodes, John?
I think number 5, right?
Number 5. Yeah. All right. I'm super excited. I'm your host, Simon Thomas, with John Leonis, and our guest today, Anthony Tomey. We go back and forth. Give us the proper.
It's Tomey.
Okay, because we've heard everybody say every which way. But super excited to have Anthony. His story is amazing. Business sense is amazing. His what he's accomplished is absolutely unbelievable, from baseball to all the different businesses that he owns, and we'll get into that. But that's really the point of Giants, is to really dive into success stories all across the board. So we're super excited to have you.
I think I heard Ernie Harwell say Tomey. So
yeah, I wish Ernie Harwell. I wish he ever knew my name ever. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm honored to be here, just even be considered to be on the show with you guys, and really excited to get this going.
Appreciate it, man. We really appreciate it. John, you always started off.
We typically kick our conversation off with a quote from someone famous, and if anyone out there has heard of Babe Ruth, he has a good quote. Said, "You just can't beat the person that never gives up." How does that resonate with you?
That's pretty much kind of what I like. My quote, and it's not really a quote. I don't have quotes, but if I did, it would be, "You can't stop me. You can only hope to contain me." That's kind of like my favorite. I heard that like when I was like 12 years old. And I'm like, it makes a lot of sense, right? So I'm one of those guys that I just keep going. Like I'm super competitive in everything I do. I was just even telling you guys I played basketball last night, and I just wanted to. I started wrecking people, right? Like
I started backing off actually.
I was trying to box out Johnny on the way in here, but that's just kind of the way I am. I'm just super competitive. Not that I want to always beat everybody and all that. It's just in you, right? You have that competitive juice, and my dad always taught me, like, you're here. If you stay there, someone's going to jump you, right? You got to keep moving forward, and keep building.
So I love talking to athletes because and business owners, because there's a ton of correlation, and you talk about being competitive, sports. So growing up, your dad, was he was sports something you always wanted? It was in your blood? Did your dad put it into you?
No, you guys, I mean, you've met my dad's side. My dad's 5'6", 150 pounds. My mom is 5 foot tall. Negative athleticism whatsoever. They knew nothing about sports. I was just a huge, monstrous kid. And I lived in my neighborhood in Redford. We lived there until I was 5. I was the only boy. There was all girls in the neighborhood. So no one did anything. Moved to Farmington Hills when I was 6. And every kid in the neighborhood was 10 or 11 years old when I was 6, but I was bigger than them. And I just started playing with these kids all the time, and I got really pretty good at sports, especially baseball. And then my dad at that point was like, okay, I see he's decent at something, right? So in true Boater fashion, when I was 9 years old, he would wake me up every day at 6 o'clock. And I was a big kid. I was tall. I weighed a lot. I wasn't like super fat, but I was definitely not like, a 9-year-old kid. I was 150 pounds in 3rd grade. So every day he'd wake me up at 6 a.m. and I'd do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 weighted jump ropes, and then I would run around the block, and he would follow me in the car so I wouldn't cheat. Yeah. He didn't know any different. That's just he didn't know how to train me, or like that was his only idea of doing it. Like 100 sit-ups was going to do anything for me, right? Just I needed to do push-aways from the table is what I needed to do. But it's just one of those things that he didn't know, but he knew there was something, but he didn't know how to really accomplish it, right? So
that's awesome. Yeah, I do know your dad. Nothing. I mean, the guy's unbelievable. I met Anthony. My brother Vince and Anthony played baseball together, in college. Yep. So I was probably 12 years old, 13 years old, and met these guys. And then what I think is pretty cool story is I met Anthony when you opened up your first Jimmy John's. I had a store right next door to him. They were in there cranking, cutting meat all, at 4 a.m. And we'd show up at like 9. They were already at dinner time at 9 a.m. But Jimmy John's, 50 locations. How long has it been? You started it when, and the road to 50. I mean, give us a little background on it.
Started in 2003. So I was drafted in 2003. We took, we kind of had this idea of, again, my dad, in the Boater fashion, is like, let's open a gas station. I'm like, no, we're not opening gas station, nothing 24 hours. It's like, how about Subway? I said, listen, I used to eat Jimmy John's at school. It's only at Michigan and Michigan State. Let's bring it to the suburbs. And they had just opened one store in the Royal Oak store, which I now own, but like we opened Novi and in 2003, and we just, we struggled. Nobody knew what Jimmy John's was. No one ever heard of delivering a sandwich. Didn't make sense. So I came home from baseball that fall, and I just started giving out food to all the different businesses, like sampling it, right? And then we would double and tripled in sales. Opened store 2, store 3, up to store 5. We opened 2008, and my dad's like, okay, we're good. We're doing really well. Unless you retire, we're good at 5 stores. So I retired from baseball. I'm like, okay, I've had a good run. I was at AAA sitting there, and then I was like, well, I'll go make some sandwiches. And from 2008, the day I came home, we opened 14 in Hagerty and Commerce. The next day, everything went to, 2008, literally the next day, not even kidding. And we struggled for that year or so. We made it work, right? And then within 10 years, we opened up, 20 stores. So we had 24 stores in 2018. 2019, I get a call, or late in 2018, I get a call from the number 1 guy in the country, Cliff Lunny, and he's a local guy, and he's like, listen, I want you to buy all my stores. I'm like, it's a big one, right? So he had 27 stores here in Michigan. He had stores in Arizona, California. So I'm like, all right, let's do this. And everyone was on board with it, but everyone was kind of like, listen, I don't know, that sounds kind of crazy. We're doubling the company overnight. And obviously my dad being super, super conservative is like, oh, you're paying too much money, And I'm like, Dad, we got to do this. We got to make this happen. And we kind of worked some things out, and we doubled the company overnight. And it's been amazing. We turned his store. He had some great locations, and we just turned those stores into winners, and just almost doubled his EBITDA that he had then. We almost doubled it just strictly on his. So
How hard was it to get your arms wrapped around that? When you go from you see a lot of we'll talk locations, like 20 location company buying up 5.
Yeah.
You can get your arms wrapped around that. Yeah. But going from 20 to 40 overnight, your team size, the employees, your structure, how difficult is that?
Yeah, it was definitely a struggle. I mean, my people were on board with it, right? They wanted growth. They were happy to do it. But you're walking in the door with 27 stores, his team. They don't know who I am. They don't know how we operate. They're not used to any help at all. It's all on them. And they were used to having very lax rules, not having anyone looking over their shoulder kind of thing. So it was definitely tough. It was a tough transition. We ended up losing, obviously, probably for the best, right? We lost a bunch of managers and employees and things like that just because we ran things a little bit differently. But most of those guys, the top guys, almost every single one of those top guys are still with us. And they're growing with us, and they bought into what we're doing. And that's kind of what I do. Like, people just, for whatever reason, just trust me. Right. They really understand that I sell myself to them. Not even just, as whatever. I'm here for you. My door is open. You need something, I'll let you know. I'll take care of it. This is a kind of a crazy story. My number 4 guy, Keith, there's a Jimmy John's, our coach, they call it, like our area guy. Like he watches over all these stores. He was dying. He needed a kidney. He was literally months away from dying. And Keith, one of my guys, was like, just went and got tested, and he was a match. And so he's going to save this guy's life. And he came to me and he's like, Anthony, I really want to do this. I want to, give my kidney to Steve. And I said, okay, cool, great. He's like, but I'm really worried. I don't know if I can go. It's like an 8-week recovery. I don't know if I can afford to do that. I said, you think I'm not going to pay you? You're going to save this guy's life, He's like, yeah, I didn't expect you to. I go, I got you, man. Just go do it. Save this guy's life. And it was a big thing. We ended up going to the convention, Jimmy John's convention. They gave us this huge award for it. They gave him an award. They gave him a Rolex. They gave him $10,000. They did a bunch of stuff. It was great, right? But it's seeing things like that where I don't have to do that. None of us. It's obviously just something humanity-wise that you would do. But there's things like that. We've helped these kids out a lot because most of these kids don't come from much, right? Or they don't have that background that we were blessed to have. And so with great parents and letting them leave at 18 years old and do their own thing. And so they don't have that support system. And I kind of like being there to help them out and make sure that they're taken care of as well.
Gaining their trust, being a leader. It's big.
Sounds like a family environment kind of thing, with where there's actual sincere, authentic care.
There is. We run it like a family business still, even though we're actually a legitimate business now. Like we've always ran it like a family business, and we just don't know any different. Sometimes it bites us and it bites in the butt sometimes when we're like, we take care of these kids and then they just walk out and burn you, right? And that's just part of the deal. Like you live and you learn. And I always say, okay, I'm stopping doing this. I'm not going to give any more advances. I'm not going to help these kids out. But then they come to me and you're just like,
how do you say no?
How do you say no? Like at the scheme of things, you lose $1,000 or $2,000. A guy walks out and never pays you back. It is what it is, right? It's the cost of doing business. Exactly. So
I thought about the logistics when you mentioned going to like 50 stores overnight. Do you visit these stores, and how often, and how can you get to all these places?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I visit them all the time. I take pride, and it sounds really weird, right? I take pride in being unbelievably good at making sandwiches. I love it. It's fun for me. I don't want to do it every day anymore, but when I go, I love doing it. It's fun for me. I get in there and I'm damn good, man. Like I think I'm like one of the best in the whole country physically at Jimmy John's.
You match food. Like, are you able to get the food costs, or are you doubling meat down? Is that why you're amazing?
No. I just make it with love, baby. I make it with love. I make it look.
Are you
I
making it
I want to
how
eat
you would eat it,
of
or
course.
what you need to do to make money?
Listen, I make it a full sandwich, man. I hate when people are like they sprinkle lettuce like it's a garnish, right? Just fill that thing, man. Make it nice. You need the juice. I'm a condiment maniac, right? I want condiments. I want every kind of condiment on there. Right?
Are we not kindred spirits? Am I not a sandwich guy?
Or the same guy?
There's only one
if
difference.
you have a couple that are like 2 to 3 weeks old, he'll eat.
I eat off the
He'll buy
floor.
them for 25.
That's why I never get sick, man. I eat off the floor. It falls on the floor. Leave it there. Throw it away. Leave it there, guys. I'll eat it when we're done.
I don't
promise
see
you.
something growing on it. It should be fine.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, the only difference is I don't think anyone would call me freaky fast. That's
No. This guy, you'll go into the fridge here, and he'll have a closing envelope, like one you put closing docs into.
Sure.
Say, do not touch, with like a sandwich wrapped up into it, with a date on it. It'll be like 3 weeks old. Everyone's like, we're throwing this away. He's like, don't throw it away, don't throw it away.
No way.
That's still good. I made it with love.
Yeah, made it with love, man. Made it with
Love
love.
doesn't expire.
No, never.
Logistically, I think a lot, like you're talking about, getting around, which yes, that's a lot of locations, but then also I think about people, besides like taking care of them. I remember we talked one time, we ran into each other somewhere, and you were like, the workforce is changing, and you have 50 locations, and it's very common for, if you have 1 or 2 locations, 1 to 2 employees not to show up. Well, now you're talking about like 100 at a time in a day. Every 1, 2 people a location don't show up. It's a big challenge. And just, I think, not to dog on it, but the next generation is, I meet a lot of these parents that are our age and a little bit older, that have these 13-year-olds to 20-year-olds. They don't want them working.
No.
Like, we worked. Like, my dad was like, you're coming to work, right? Like, you're sitting at home, go do something. We're not doing that, right? Yep. Like, what's going on with that? And in Jimmy John's, has it been difficult?
It's been very, so the pandemic changed everything, right? We had, in February 2020, we had 800 employees. We closed for 6 weeks, all locations, because everyone went crazy. I was trying to stay open. All the employees were like, you care about money more than us. I'm like, I'm just trying to, the corporate's making us do, like, I'm trying to make this work. So we closed for 6 weeks. We come back, I'm sub 500. So I lost 300 employees in 6 weeks. And we had to open up all these locations. And so we were working day and night, all of us, me, my brother, my sister, my uncle, anyone that was anyway. I mean, my wife's 8 months pregnant. She's delivering sandwiches at a certain time. I'll be like, I need help at the store, and she'll show up and do it, right? We just did whatever it took to make it happen, but it totally changed the dynamic of the employee, right? Everyone was in the same boat, not just restaurants, right? So my better people were getting offered jobs that they probably wouldn't have ever been offered, or on paper are not, shouldn't be having these kind of jobs. They were getting those jobs because they were so desperate as well, right? And so it changed everything. And then we were at their mercy. I need this much money or I'm leaving. Well, you can't even make a sandwich. Well, I can go to Walmart and they're paying me $18 to be a greeter. because they were desperate for people. So you're like, okay, I'll do it, or see ya, right? It's one or the other. And and now it's finally starting to come back where the employer is kind of getting some power back a little bit, but the employees ran the asylum for a little while, right? They really did. And it changed the whole dynamic of how we operated, but it made us better. We don't need 800 employees. We're doing Nintendo numbers now. We're up almost $10 million from 2019 to 2024.
That's
in
awesome.
sale, which is crazy. And we did it with a lot less people. So we're paying a lot more money. So it kind of balances out. But at the same time, I want these guys to make money. Like I do. I mean, I'm not here to take their money. I don't want their $1,000, their extra $500, but I want them to make that money. I want them to be happy, and I want them to see that, hey, this can be a career, not just a job for them.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what generation this happened, but like the employer became the bad guy. Me and you talked about this once, right?
Yeah.
Like all you care about is money. It's like, well, no, I care about all of our families here that are trying to not your clients, your staff, and B, your ass is on the line. Like you don't just like own all these stores with no overhead, and like the overhead, like rent doesn't stop.
No.
Like you called our landlord and it's like, hey dude, 90 days we can't sell a house. It's like, all right, well you're still paying your rent, right? It's like, yeah, I will, but nothing stops. Everyone stops working, but nothing stops, and it's that mindset. I mean, we went into it.
I think that most people in America and maybe around the world don't really know what it's like to, own and operate something. Most people don't, right? I mean, they are around other employees that might be, complaining or whatever, and then you have TV shows where from the get-go where the CEO's got his feet up on the desk and a cigar in his mouth and that kind of thing. That's not what a real leader looks like.
No.
And most successful companies require a leader, and that they're successful because of leadership.
Exactly. It's, I feel like a lot of my employees don't understand. I think they think every penny that walks in the store goes right into our pockets, and that's obviously incorrect. Or that I'm just at my desk like Scrooge McDucking into money, right? Like that doesn't happen. Do I make more money than my employees? Yes. I mean, I do. Like, it's just a fact of life. That's how it works. But at the same time, how much, like liability we have on the line. We have our house, our family, our businesses. If something, God forbid, happens, they're going to go get another job. I'm done, right? Like we're going to get totally screwed in this whole thing. So
and time commitment. You have this beautiful family, and it's not us for them. That's what I'm trying to do. But like that's the stuff people don't understand. Like your kids, your wife. Like as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that. Like growing up, you're like, I want to make money, right? Money. I want to make money. I'm hungry. I'll work 100 hours a week, and I will, and I do, right? But now you got this family, and it's like you're seeing them you have kids, and they're babies, and all of a sudden they're 6. All of a sudden they're doubled and tripled in size. It's like I don't just have that my money on the line and liability and risk. We have like, if this doesn't work or if this fails, I just didn't see my kids. I missed a lot of things with my kids. Now I don't know. I'm sure you're a great dad. I know you're a great dad, and you're doing a lot with them. But there's that aspect too that I don't think people understand.
100%. I mean, the kids are growing. I mean, I have a 6, a 4, and a 3, and my 4-year-old's going to be in 1 month. Going to be 5, and they're growing. It's crazy. People say, "Oh, enjoy it now." I'm like, I'm going to kill my kids most of this time, right? Every day, but. I can't wait for 2 or 3 more years when they're really good at sports. And I'm still coaching. I'm still in with the whole thing, and they're becoming fun. Like they talk to you. They want I take my son Anthony. I took him to the Pistons game. I took one of the Ravens game on Saturday. He's so pumped for it. He used to not like sports much at all, like a year ago, right?
Your
now
oldest?
the oldest. Now he is just all in. So, yeah, the time is I don't stay till 6:30 anymore. I just go and do what I got to do, right? It used to be about hours and being around for everybody and now it's I got to get my stuff done and I got things to do, and you can do things, right? Yeah, you have to enable people to be able to do what you pay them to do.
You have to.
I can't micromanage anymore.
Right.
You just can't do it.
Right. Now, are you making your kids get up at 6 a.m. and do push-ups and run around?
They are To Anthony, my oldest, he does do that stuff on his own. I bought him those cones. He does cone drills in the house, and does like he's a freak little athlete. He's great. But yeah, I'm not. It comes like obviously I want my kids to do well and all that, but I don't want to push it at this point because I know how hard it is to get to where I got, and I want to make sure they have every opportunity to do that. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm not pushing it and making it because I was there, right? And so it's that fine line. But I mean, Anthony's obsessed. He's obsessed. So
outside of athletics, what do you hope for your kids?
Oh, I want my kids to do. I mean, more than athletics, they have to do really well in school. That's a very important thing to me. That's what my dad always taught us. And religious. I want them to have that faith, and that's what my wife Rita really pushes. That she's very holy. She goes to church every day. She does a lot of things. She still teaches catechism at church. We're super Catholic overall, and we want that. That's the most important, really. You have that faith in God and all that. But I want to be good kids, right? Good people. People want to hang out with them. I want that to be the case, right? Sports is the last thing, but I mean, obviously I love sports and they love it, but that's the last thing I have to do. I want them to be good people. And
well, do you see them running a restaurant or working at a restaurant or working at one of the businesses that you operate? Maybe
eventually. I want them to do their own thing. I kind of want them to learn how to do stuff on their own. My dad never gave us anything. He gave us what we needed, not what we wanted, right? And he built the business with us for this, 100%. Like without my dad, we couldn't do anything. I don't want to give them anything. I want them to earn all the things that they do. I'm not going to make it a comfortable life for them, sure. Like I'm not going to be like, well, you're not going to eat until you do whatever. But I'm not going to just give them money or a business. I had them set up, obviously. We have a lot of things lined up for them way in the future that they'll never know about until a certain age. But I want them to learn trade. Yeah, the podcast, for sure.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Wait, what's hidden? What are you talking about? Is there a box or
around,
bed?
They're in the pantry at 12 o'clock at night looking for things.
I want them to learn trades. I'm going to have them work with my builder, right? But learn how. I can't do anything. I literally am the dumbest guy you've ever seen trying to fix something, build something, create. Like I don't do that, right? I'm really good at writing checks, and paying people. I want them to learn that. I would love them to be like a doctor or a lawyer, like learn their own way. And if the business is still there, boom, there you go, right? I know just from going to college, most people don't do anything in their major, right? I went marketing and management. I never used it in my life, right?
We went to a real estate school.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, unless you become like a doctor or a lawyer or what engineer, you don't really use your degree. I feel as if you use your degree to grow as a person, right? All that tells me as an employer is that you have the ability to learn. That's why you went to college. You learn how to
and complete something,
yeah,
right?
And work hard to something. Like when I was from pro ball, most of the guys are coming from college, right? But there's all those kids that sign out of high school, and the difference between the high school kids and the college kids is this much, right? Oh, just the way they speak, even like in an interview or to a girl or to whatever, like they don't have that charisma. They don't have that. They don't know how to do it properly. And it sounds weird, right, to say that. They're just kind of awkward because they miss that stage of life where you learn to develop your social skills properly, right? Because you're the man, right? You're in high school. If you're going to get drafted, you're obviously probably the best athlete in your high school, right? And you're the man. Everything's great.
You're telling me?
John was 100%. 100%. Rochester, right? He had Paul Davis, but he was him. He was the guy, right? But, they miss that whole of humbling of yourself, right? Because you're the best at your high school if you're going to play in college. You go to college, everyone's just as good as you. Then you have to separate yourself. You go to pro ball, I was awesome. I was throwing 94, 95 miles an hour. I'm great. You can't get to pro ball unless you're throwing 94, 95. So you have to separate yourself every level you move up. You have to separate yourself and say, this is what I can bring to the table. Because everyone else is 6'3", 250 pounds, throwing 95 miles an hour too. Or else you don't get there. So
that's how it was when we got in real estate.
Yeah,
it was like 6'3", 250. It was like, how are we going to separate?
How do you guys figure it out, right? John shaved his head. Same, right?
We started bulking up. That's what we did.
Creatine all day, every day, man.
So why baseball? Obviously, you played all sports.
Yeah.
I mean, you pitching too. Like, obviously, you had an unbelievable arm. Your size was perfect for pitching. but like football, basketball, you had the size for any sport. Why baseball?
I played all of them. I loved football. And my mom ended my dreams as she would not let me play football. We were the #1 high school in the state. I went to Catholic Central. We won 3 out of 4 state championships my 4 years there. I always knew I was pretty good at baseball.
You know, that's De La Salle now.
It is De La Salle now.
I'm
friends with Coach Roan.
Yeah.
I know how this all works. I get it, but we're getting there. We're working for it. At 12, I kind of knew what was going on. Right, I was 6'1", 185 pounds at 12, and I was throwing bullets. Right, I would hit home runs pretty much all the time. Right, so I got kicked out of the 12-year-old league. Like, it just wasn't happening.
Was it Little League? Was it travel?
It was travel.
Okay.
Yeah, it was travel. Like it just was. What put it over the edge was a kid threw a ball and it was going to hit me, and I was batting and I literally just caught it and threw it back, and that was enough. The parents were like, this is not a real thing, right? So I figured out at that point, like, I'm decently good at baseball, and then I got kind of humbled at high school, right? I was a freshman. I thought I was really good, and I was on varsity, and then they're like, there's everyone else is just better, right? And I had never lifted weights. I was, melted candle body. Like, I'm just a big guy. I have no muscle, but just, I figured out, I started working really hard. Basketball was the key for me. It kept me in great shape. I love basketball. I wish I jumped this high, obviously. I have the disease, right? So you can only go so high. But I was the box out champion of the world, right? That's all I knew. I knew my role. I wasn't shooting threes. I would make my layups. I'd get rebounds, and I'd pass the ball to the better players. But I started at varsity in the Catholic League, which is a solid thing. But baseball was just it for me. It always was. After junior year was my big year. Right? I really blossomed. I started throwing really, really hard, and that was it for me, man. I just kind of took off from there.
Yeah.
So.
And Eastern Michigan. Right.
Yeah.
What other options were there?
Tons.
Yeah. And why Eastern?
So there was no social media back in the day, right? There wasn't a real thing. There was always that stigma. You can't go. The guys from the north couldn't go play at the southern schools or the West Coast schools, right? You never were recruited by those schools. It was just a different time, right? You would never get that love from Miami, Florida, or whatever. So I actually got a lot of letters from everywhere. And then there was it's not like it is now with the transfer portal and all that. You had to sign early or you didn't get the scholarship, right? And there's only 11.7 scholarships for a team. Eastern gave me a full ride, right? I wanted to go to Michigan or Michigan State. They offered me as well, but they gave me a full, everything paid for. I also had offer from Stanford. I had an offer from other schools. I wanted my dad around as well. It's hard for me my dad would have done whatever, right? He would have, if I want to go to Stanford, he would have paid for it, and it would have cost him, another $50,000 probably. Who knows? Back and forth, travel, all that. And then I went to a showcase after I signed in November. I went to the top 100 prospects, and I killed it. I had so many offers, but I couldn't get out of that contract. The NCAA had you like this back in the day, right? So I just said, okay, I'm committed. I'm loyal. Let's go.
That's awesome.
We just went with it.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, a lot of businesses. Well, not a lot, but a handful. Jimmy John's, it sounds like, is the main thing that got you guys going besides baseball, outside of baseball. 8 Mile Vodka and real estate. I mean, totally different businesses from the food restaurant business. Like, talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, I mean, everything is, Jimmy John's is our train, right? We take that, and that's where we're going. That's our money maker. That's maybe not always going to be, but it is right now. It's who we are, right? I'm the Jimmy John's guy. Everyone just talks about it. Everyone knows it. I go to a party, I'm bringing you a box of Jimmy John's, right? It's just what it is.
When you bring them, do you make them?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I used to do a
talk
lot
a big
more.
game, bro. If you're going to bring them,
We're going to the Birmingham store after this. We're having lunch, just so you guys know. And I'm making you guys delicious stuff. But, it was one of those things where we were approached. It was kind of a crazy story. We were doing a fundraiser for our church, my brother and I, and our friend owned a travel agency. He was going to give us a trip to Greece, right? That was our main prize for the event. Another buddy of his came over and they're like, hey, here's some autographs from Calvin Johnson, some of the Red Wings guys. And he's like, hey, you want to buy this vodka company? I'm like, yeah. And it was garbage. It wasn't good, right? But for 2 weeks, I'm like, man, I really want to buy a vodka company. So we researched this really quickly, did all this stuff. We found one beautiful bottle, CC colors, of course. Taste was awesome. It was very smooth, very good. So we bought a vodka company. On the bottom of the vodka company, it's called 8 Mile Vodka. On the bottom, it said born in Detroit. I said, can we trademark that? Do you own that? He's like, yeah, we own it. How much money? This much money. Cool. We bought that, made it into an apparel line. And just things have really blossomed from there. And then we said to ourselves, we will never do food again. Like, we're really good at Jimmy John's, but this is during the pandemic time. We're like, we're never touching food again. My brother loves the Food Network. Saw Guy Fieri's new concept called Chicken Guy. There was a show. Like, they were giving away a franchise. We're like, shit, we should do this. This is pretty cool. Went down there, ate the food, loved it, and we bought Chicken Guy. So we own Chicken Guy in Livonia. We own the whole state. We have the rights to the entire state of Michigan to go build all these Chicken Guys.
Is there any up yet?
Yeah, Livonia's been up for almost a year now. Plymouth between Middle Belt and Merriman.
How many of those do you guys want to put up?
Well, we have a contract for 25, so that's happening. And we didn't have the whole. We only bought the 6 Metro Detroit area, 6 counties. But once he came here, we got the store up in 3 months. It looked great. We started promoting everything. He's like, whole state's yours.
Do you find a big difference? Like, is it different than Jimmy John's?
It is. It's just so much more. Jimmy John's is so simple. You don't understand how easy and simple and genius that Jimmy John's. Jimmy John's is not the greatest sandwich in the whole world, right? It's a good sandwich. I love it. Everyone will eat it. No one's like, man, I hate Jimmy John's. You can't say that. It's just a good sandwich, right? You'll always eat it. But Chicken Guy is totally different dynamic, right? You got grease, you got chicken, you have fries, it's a totally different thing. We have all these sauces, right? We hand bread the chicken. We make all the sauces in-house. It's a lot different everything. And it's similar, but it's not, right, at the same time. So it's a little bit different. Our team is doing really well with it. Sales are good. Food cost sucks. The chicken is tough. We don't have that buying power to get. We actually just changed chicken farms as a franchise. So we're going to get there. We're the only franchisee open in the whole country.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really only corporate stores.
And there's a lot of pain with that.
A
lot of probably benefits in the long run, but some pain in the beginning.
Pain and unknown.
Right.
And most of every spot they have is in a non-traditional. They're at Disney. They do like $8.5 million at Disney. But you're the only thing. You're the cheapest thing in Disney. You got a guy's name on it. They're in airports. They're in casinos. We're in Livonia. Okay, like it's a different dynamic. And the first day we did like $18,000. We had a 4-hour drive-through line. We're like, man, we just struck gold. This is amazing. And for weeks and weeks and weeks, we're just pumping through this thing. And then all of a sudden, it just stopped. And we're like, okay, people, that was the honeymoon period. And now we're back where we need to be, obviously. But it was just 2 weeks of, we didn't leave. Open and close, we're all there. I don't even know how to do anything. I know everything at Jimmy John's. I know zero. But I'm handing out food, doing whatever it takes. My brother went back in the kitchen, just like, show me how to do this. Let's figure this out, right? And we just make it work. And that's just kind of how we are as a family. We just, at the end of the day, we're just going to get it done.
See, it's all about operators. I can tell you it's about, like across the street from my father's banquet hall, a Sonic opened.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
140,000 a week, right? You talk week numbers.
Yep.
That's like unheard of, right? It's like
Nintendo.
gangbusters,
Yeah.
And then now you don't even see them, right? It's all, do I think it's the product? I think people wanted to taste it and see it and touch it because they advertised like crazy for years before they came here. Yep. But the right operators, the right team, they would have made that work. But it's just I think, again, that's what I love about business. Like, everybody thinks it's like you get into this thing, you kill it, and you've made it, right? They don't understand that, like, look at success, and then drop off, and now we got to go to work, right?
Sure.
Which you always do, but that's really my favorite part about business, because that's what separates you and your team.
Yep. Everybody else
From everybody else, because most people will be like, all right, that sucks, I'm done, I'm out, right? The head gets involved, the mind gets involved, and then they're out, right?
You just can't open the doors.
All right.
It's not a thing. When you open the doors and money just starts pouring in. It's not real life.
Yeah, and when things get tough, you see it. You see, like Blockbuster. You see these things that, like, boom and then boom. It's like, what do you do to during tough times? And your dad obviously sounds like was a huge mentor to you. Was there anybody else? or is one? I'm sorry, but is there anybody else?
Yeah, no, as a mentor, no. I mean, I still to this day don't do anything without telling my dad. Like nothing. I ask him everything. Like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And he's getting up there. He's 78 now. He's getting up there, but he comes to work every single day. Comes to the office. We just find things for him to do. Audit this, do this. He's a numbers guru, right? That's what he does. Human calculator. And I still won't do anything, literally anything, without asking my dad and my mom as well. But mostly my dad's always been that guy for me. And then obviously my wife now, Rita. I mean, like I don't, we were very comfortable, right? We had a 24-store Jimmy John's. We're doing well. We had just got married. And I'm like, hey, we just got this offer for this. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I want to jump on that. She goes, you'd be the biggest idiot if you don't take that deal. And she came from a business background. And so like she kind of understood what was going on. And she's always pushing, hey, we're doing all right with this. Hey, your brothers want to go buy a apartment complex. Should we do it? Obviously, go do it. Like if she gives up going to X or Y, it's a vacation here, a purse here, all this, just go invest that money. Go do that. So not really a mentor to me, but more of a motivator, right? She keeps pushing me to do better, to expand and keep going. And obviously everything we do is for the family, for the boys, obviously. But she just is very instrumental. And now I talk to her about everything, right? I go through my dad still at the end of the day, but I make sure that Rita's involved in I don't not tell her anything that we're doing, right? I want her, not really her permission, but her bless, like, hey, yeah, that sounds like a good deal. Or she'll tell me, she's like, that's a dumb move. Don't do that.
Well, it's both. You're both in it, and I see it with starting my businesses. Like, without a strong, spouse, like,
oh yeah,
this is impossible. It's almost impossible to start something from nothing with a strong spouse. I mean, I would say you're either going to end up divorced or that person has to be solid if you're going to make it, because or you just don't do it, because if your spouse isn't on board, I mean, it affects everything, especially in the beginning, and even now. You guys have done a lot of successful things, but it's like these are big decisions, and a lot of times if you have somebody that's playing scared with you and causes you to hesitate a little bit, that affects everything.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, she got to be supportive of what we do. I mean, there's events with 8 Mile, with Born in Detroit. There's games, there's X, and and so she has to be understanding and be on board with me being able to do that. I'm not taking 8 Mile to the bars at night till 2 a.m. I mean, that would have been a quick yes.
I have to do it.
I have to stay till 4 a.m. I have to do it. It's the only way we're gonna get the deal done, right? She's not on board with that, obviously, but she gave the blessing for it. She's like, yeah, I get it. You got to put time. This is a startup business. You got to get going on it. The restaurants that's a no-brainer for her. She knows they're good. They're gonna make us money. They're gonna make us better for the future, but the other stuff is a gamble, right? Like, if it's going to stick, the vodka, the Born in Detroit and all that, and she's given her blessing and all that. She promotes it. All her friends wear it. It's one of those things where she's very supportive in what we're doing and understands that I'm not going to just sit at home. I'm not that guy.
Right.
So.
Does it always still feel like a startup? Does it ever go away?
It does. I think we're kind of at that breaking point right now where I think we're really, we're born in Detroit, right? And now we just trademarked born in any city, any state in the country. So we're really going to get to that next level, I think, now. And I think we're past the startup, and we understand what we have to do to get this going.
The blueprints there.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you apply born into a bottle of vodka, or do you apply it to merchandise, or
It's mostly merchandise, apparel. It's one of those things where the way we grew up, all 4 of us, is my brother and then my buddy George and his brother, right? There's 4 brothers involved, and we all are just hardworking guys, right? They have a travel agency. We have the Jimmy John's, we have whatever else. And we have that work ethic that we call it the grit, the blue collar ethics. And I feel like everyone in Detroit has that as well. Like, you're born in Detroit. And I always tell everyone, it's not literally about being born in Detroit. It's about Detroit being born in you. And you have that whole feel about it. And I think everywhere you go, people have pride where they're from, right? From their old country or from their city or whatever the case. And so I think that really resonates with a lot of people. And we just trademarked Born in Boston before we took the whole Born in. And I think it's the same thing. The same with Pittsburgh. Those are blue collar areas that people are like, man, I'm proud as hell to be from here, right? And that's kind of what we're getting to in the future with us, with this brand, is that people are proud to be where they're from, and they want to show that love. Like, we were on Hard Knocks when the Lions were on Hard Knocks last year, right, 2022. The first episode, a friend of mine, Devin Gardner, former quarterback at Michigan, now he's a reporter for Bally Sports. He just happened to wear the T-shirts we gave him. He wore this Born Detroit T-shirt, and for 10 seconds they locked it. He was interviewing Dan Campbell, talking to him, saying, "I love what you're doing here," and they lock in for literally 10 seconds of his shirt, Born in Detroit. We blew up that night. We did over $5,000 in the first half an hour, and every single order was from out of state. So we didn't really understand that. Like, man, we have we're doing everything locally, but there's so many people that are born here that have gone on to different, successes throughout the country or the world, and they still have that love for Detroit. And that was really like, okay, we have something here. Let's figure something out with it.
Everywhere I go, I run into somebody that comes back to me, like that's from Michigan.
Yeah.
Like the amount of people wherever, Michigan, I was born there, or whatever. I'm from Ann Arbor. It's like you could be anywhere and you run into somebody from Michigan. It really is kind of crazy. But so out of all these businesses, which, I don't want to say your favorite, because I'm sure you have favorites in all of them. I'm sure there's negatives in all of them or challenges in all of them. But like, if you had to go back to 2002 again, where you're making decisions on, where you're going to put, now that you understand business, you understand, the pros and cons to different things. You're involved in real estate. You're involved in, distribution. You're involved in apparel. You're involved in food. Would you do it the same way? Would it still be food first? Would you have dove into something else because it,
It's a great question. Really good question. Obviously, I see the benefits of the real estate and how it's kind of like it's not a passive business, but it's a lot more passive than the food. I don't think I would change anything. We didn't have that type of money to go buy buildings and apartment complexes and things like that back in the day. And I love, as much as people think I'm probably insane, I love the grind of the restaurants. I love Jimmy John's. Like, to this day, I will take a party box to a party and I'll eat half of the damn thing. Like, just because I'm fat, but also because it's like, I just love it. I'm so proud of Jimmy John's. I'm really proud of the food. Yeah. I want to make sure I eat the most, right? I got to make sure. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I love the grind of it. I love the service. I love making the sandwiches. It sounds so dumb. I know it does. Like, listen, we're doing, 40 some million dollars.
You don't get to your level by not loving it.
You have to love it. And I love the guys at my team. Like, our number one guy, Adam, our CEO of the whole company, been with me for 17 years in this industry, right? Corey, he's our EVP. He's been with me 15 years. My top 10 people are 10 years plus. We've brought them from $7 an hour. That's what literally Adam made $7 an hour when he started with us. Knowing that you could tell, listen, there's guys that are going to, keep going, right? But in this industry, that doesn't happen. And as much as obviously I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some saint and I'm building all these businesses for everybody else, right? We're building it for us, right, as well, and our families. But we keep expanding for these guys as well. Like, I've promised them, listen, just jump on my back and we'll take you places. Just got to believe in me and we'll get there, right? And all of us, right? And they do. And they're all bought in and will do whatever it takes. Like, Adam will just make drinks for 8 Mile. He'll just go make gallons, not like a drink. He'll make gallons, right? He's helping us with the Born in Detroit stuff. He'll do whatever it takes. He's running Chicken Guy right now. He's known as Jimmy John's, right? You do it for these guys. These guys have to grow, right? If they don't, they see this is the ceiling, then that's it, right? But they see us, we're going to keep buying Jimmy John's. We're going to keep building Jimmy John's. We're going to keep going with Chicken Guy. There's a future. Again, we want this to be a career for some of these guys, not just a job. And, the way I see it as well, like, we have almost 700 employees. Like, we're feeding 700 families with that, right? Like, it's a cool thing to be able to say, like, listen, these guys have all grown with us into what they are. I want these guys to be executives. I do. Because they deserve it. They do. These guys they didn't come from Harvard. They don't have all these degrees. They're just hardworking guys that just will bust their ass and do whatever it takes to get to that next
They're
level.
the best guys.
They're
Those are the best
guys.
ones.
You
Those are
can't-
the best
You
ones.
can't replace that. Like
Yeah.
whatever I ask, they'll do.
Yeah.
They're so comfortable now, they don't even ask. They just do stuff, right? It just is what it is, and it's their company. They feel that they own part of this whole thing as well, and that's you can't pay for that, right?
Yeah. No,
Whatever they need, they get taken care of with it, and they're going to keep growing. And again, I want them to get to a level where they're not in stores anymore, right? They're executives in this company, and we're going to keep blowing this thing up. So
kind of like what happened with this guy. I was driving down the street. He was just kind of like wandering around.
Twirling a sign.
Yeah. I'm like, bro.
Dressed like a clown.
I'm like,
lemonade, 25 cents.
Bro, let's sell real estate. Come on. He just jumped in the back of the pickup truck. Like, we came
Yeah.
here. He's been with me ever since.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Simon,
I want
knew you
more
in
for
sixth
him.
grade. I'll jump
Anthony.
in.
I want
No
more
problem.
for him, Anthony.
Exactly.
You know, sometimes he doesn't realize it, but I want more.
Exactly. That's what it is. You want them to be like, like to exceed their parents, to exceed their expectation of where they ever thought they'd be able to get to, right? And it was a grind for a lot of these guys. I mean, they, a lot of their friends or went to college, went to Michigan State, or Michigan, whatever the case, and they're going to get this fancy job at a place, but they're not making the money. They have to put their time in. These guys have put their time in and work, and they still work. Like, they're still grinding all the time. They're always on the phone, always putting out fires. And you just want them to be like, man, I did this for a reason. I didn't do this just to make money. I see the future with these guys and with this family, and they have total trust in what we do. And I would never want to let them down, right?
Awesome.
So
I got
great.
a couple rapid fires.
let's do it.
Here in Metro Detroit, it's become popular in the suburbs, the Jimmy John's Field. Is there affiliation with that?
Yes. Yes. So we had a co-op, and we had the opportunity to name the stadium, right? And we did that. And then it actually kind of crazy how it all went down. 2020 was the 5-year, right? So corporate had just switched over from Inspire had just bought Jimmy John's. Inspire is our private equity, right, that owns it. Jimmy John was all about it, right? These guys they want every dollar into national funding. So they're like, hey, listen, we're going to pass on the 5-year. We're just going to end the relationship. And the owner calls me. The owner, Andy Appleby, calls me. He's like, Anthony, this is 2020, right? During the middle of the pandemic, we're gonna. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if we can get a sponsor if you guys walk away from this. And I thought to myself, like, okay, what do I have to do with this? Like, well, you have more stores than everybody combined, so you can even outvote corporate. If you say yes, we stay. If you say no, it's over. So, all right, here we go. So I call corporate. I'm like, what do you do with that money? Are you going to give it to us so we can, disperse it throughout and different, advertising, billboard, whatever it's going to be? It's like, no, it's going to a national corporation, or national funding. So what's that going to get us? 1 30-second commercial, $300,000. And they're like, yeah. I said, we're keeping it. So they weren't real happy with me, I'm sure, but at the end of the day, it's a beautiful stadium, and you see it from the expressway. You're like, man, it's an impressive thing. And it's not even my stores. My stores are not even around there, right? But at the end of the day, it's just, you got to do what's right, man. And it's a beautiful field, and I'm proud of it as well, and I have nothing to do with it.
It's a great experience
So,
there, too.
The kids love it there, and Andy takes care of me. Like, whatever I need, if I need something, boom, here you go. And he's a great guy, and I really want him to just, do well with this whole thing. So,
Do you have a corporate headquarters, or is
Yeah.
it, like a big or like a store, and then behind there's an office?
everyone's in the basement of my house. Marita's really cool with it. She feeds them every day. No, we have a corporate office in Farmington Hills on 12 Mile, and we just moved in there a couple years ago, and it's a great office, man. We have just only a few of us in there, just the ownership group, my brother, my sister, my dad, my uncle. Then we have a couple of our cousins in there. We keep it in the family. And then the big guys, Adam and Corey, have their own office. And it's nice little place. Nothing special. Nothing as nice as this. But we'll get there one day.
We've learned a little bit about who you are outside of work, the family man that you are. I think we've bridged the gap of perception between, employees and people that are running a company. I think we did a good job of that. But how would you like to be remembered?
Man, you guys are getting deep here, man. Getting deep. I was asked this question before, and I want to be remembered as just a good guy, man. I want to be able to, have my kids and my wife and my grandkids hopefully be proud of what I did. We built this as a family from zero, right, to what it is today. We didn't cheat anybody. We didn't do anything illegal. We just worked our asses off to get where we need to get to. And I want everyone to remember that. Like, hey, this guy worked for everything. He was never given anything. My dad wasn't some millionaire guy that just had a trust fund. I took it and did whatever, right? We have grinded from day one, and we're still grinding, right? I want people to know that, know that we're just hardworking, good Catholic people, a good husband, hopefully, a good, good father. That's how I want to be remembered. I mean, baseball is what it is, right? I had a good run. It was fun. It was great. My body hurts now playing basketball at night. So like, it's just when you get to that point, you're just like, okay, this is what it is. But at the end of the day, your name, your legacy of what you did, what you left, what you built, that's what it's all about, man. It's about, the family understanding, and just take care of your people and your family. Like that's it. I do this all for them. Like I'm good, right?
Good news.
I do it for my family.
I told you before, I texted my buddy, hey, did you play ball with Anthony Tomey? You know him? And he's like, yeah. I like, do you have any embarrassing stories? He goes, no, he's just a good guy. I'm like, well, I would have gotten it, if there was.
I wish I had some good stories, man, like some embarrassing stories.
Do.
We do. We have. Listen, there's a few, but
your friend's watching right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Is he gonna tell it? Is he gonna say?
Pro ball was a different human at that point. But I mean, we had a good time and we did a lot of dumb things. But we had those are my guys too, man. Like it's one of those things that people ask me all the time. Do you miss playing baseball? Well, of course. Like I would have done it for free, right? But you miss the guys, right? The camaraderie. You're with these guys all day, 142 games, 60 games. You're with these guys for 7 months a year. You live with them. You live in the hotels. You live in the house. You do whatever. You're with these guys all day, every day. And those guys we have a fantasy football league. We meet up every year. We do a lot of dumb things, but it's great. We talk. All we do is literally make fun of each other every second. There's not like one thing of like, hey man, I'm proud of what you're doing. It's like, hey, this is what I did. You're an idiot. You did this. Like, you look fat in that picture. You did, like that's just.
You're gonna catch hell
that's
for
just the love.
Podcast,
Exactly. Exactly. 100%. Like, man, get off the TV once in a while, right? But it's just that's the love that we have. It's just a different form that you only you build that through something different, right? So.
Before you get into the last part of it, I want to ask one thing because I think it's pretty sweet. Is the pop-up downtown? Yeah. What's going on with that?
So yeah, we just signed a pop-up downtown for the draft. The NFL draft is going to be here in April, right? End of April. We have a relationship with Bedrock. I'm a tenant for them and with our Jimmy Johns, and so I've been asking them for a while. And the NFL took literally every single spot available on Campus Martius. And the girl I deal with, Chloe, she's like, I have one spot available. It's right in the corner of Woodward and Grand River. I'm like, that's an awesome spot, right? Moose Jaw was moving out. It's right across the street from Shinola Hotel, right across the street from the new Hudson building that's coming up. And I said, let's go. Let's do this. So we're having a Born in Detroit pop-up. We're going to have 8 Mile involved as well. We're going to have half of the space will be the clothing, the apparel brand, all that. And the other half is going to be a loungy area. We're going to do podcasts. We're going to do autograph signings. Have private events, people can rent it out, but businesses can rent it out and just have people come in there. We'll have a catering company and just kind of relax and have like a happy hour and do whatever. And then for the draft, it's going to be insanity. I think there's going to be, they're saying 400,000 or 500,000 people downtown within the whole time you're there. And I mean, it's right there. You have to walk past us to get to the stage. So it's a great spot. We're really lucky. And hopefully we just do it well and make it nice, and hope people want to jump in with us.
You'll kill it like everything else. John, want to end it?
Yes. The way we end every show, what's your death row meal? Something you
can't be Jimmy
Oh,
John's.
man.
I was going to say the Italian nightclub at
Yeah.
Jimmy John's, but
Well, my meal's not going to be small regardless, so maybe I'll throw that in as an appetizer, number 9. But, my mom had always made – that was like our go-to meal. And my mom was crazy, man. She made so much food. I'd bring over 20 guys. My mom was like MacGyver, right? I'd bring over 20 dudes after the bar or after whatever when I lived at home, and she would just wait for us because she could not sleep till we got home. It could be at 2 a.m, and she'd be like, "What do you guys want to eat?" And she'd go and she'd make us like something, right? But she used to make this chicken marsala with mashed potatoes and this Lebanese hashwi rice, it's called. And my mom, obviously, I didn't get this skinny by not eating everything, right? So she cooked with love, not with health, right? And so the mashed potatoes, I'm not kidding, there's probably 2 sticks of butter in it, right? But it is the greatest meal. Like I'd die for that meal. It's got corn, you have corn, mashed potatoes, the hashwi rice, and like 5 chicken breasts of chicken. And we just crush the chicken marsala. It's really good. So that'd probably be my go-to. If I'm dying, that's how I'm going out, probably, right?
I I love it.
Yeah, it was good stuff for sure.
Isn't it amazing? My mother's Italian. My dad's Lebanese. My mom, I mean, she could cook a 5-course meal in like 6 minutes.
Yeah,
You're like, clean out a refrigerator.
I
you
know it.
It's unbelievable. But that's awesome. Anthony, anything else, Johnny boy?
Oh, I mean, I think we covered a lot of ground and got to know you well, which I feel like there's an instant connection, which is always a cool thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks so much for sitting down to chat with us today.
No, thanks for having me, guys. I mean, this is an honor to be able to be on here with you guys and break bread and just kind of go at it. And so it's a great experience, like you don't get to do a lot of these type of things and learn from different businesses and different business owners and how they operate and how you guys do things. And what you guys have built here is so, so impressive. I mean, again, I knew Simon when he was making gelatos, right? Like, and to see where he's come from, and the same thing, we're both from the same thing, right? His dad and his parents had a business, and he could have probably just jumped in that and did that whole thing. And to see where he's come from and to see this is one of the most beautiful buildings and inside business I've seen. And I see them all over the media, social media. You see all these guys, DOBI, everyone's here. And to see what you guys have built here is more than impressive. And I'm very proud of you and your team and just to be able to be on here with you guys.
Well, that means a lot, bro. I mean, honestly, Anthony, and same thing. I remember, and that was no joke, going to Novi and seeing you in the back cranking, and you were passionate back then, talking about what you were going to do and how great Jimmy John's is, and to see you 20 years later just as passionate, more passionate, it's hard to do. And being a guy who is growing a business and in it, it's something that it's unique. It's a unicorn. Like, you don't have many guys that can, or not even guys, people. There's a lot of people out there that have created great things, but we kind of take it for granted a little bit because we are friends with a lot of these people.
Sure.
But it's very a select few, and a lot of challenges come across your way and you figure it out, the story of COVID and all these things. I mean, that's special, and that's why we do these podcasts, because not everybody sees that side of business. It's a great line. They see you at the pop-up. Anthony's made it. He's awesome. His dad's probably a millionaire and gave him a bunch of money.
Yeah,
they don't
exactly.
realize like the grind, the grit, the work it takes, and you are a perfect example of that. So I'm really excited to see the next 20 and what you guys are going to do, and just keep growing together. Thanks, Anthony.
No, thanks for having me, guys.